kindly stay with me because the Supreme Court is being asked to impose sanctions on the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, for allowing the House to proceed with the anti-LGBTQ+ bill despite pending legal actions. Researcher Dr. Amanda Odoye contends the Speaker has treated court processes with disdain and contempt. Dr. Odoye is one of two citizens who have sued the Speaker of Parliament and the Attorney General over the anti-LGBTQ+ bill. She contends her checks show that the Speaker of Parliament has been served with all relevant court processes, including one asking the court to place an injunction on Parliament's consideration of the law. It will be recalled that Parliament last week wrapped up the second reading of the bill, bringing it a step closer to conclusion of processes on the controversial law. Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akable rejoins us with more on this. Now, Joseph, is any evidence provided to support this view that a Speaker is aware of the legal processes in court? Joseph, kindly unmute so we can hear you.
No. Oh, it's in your pocket. Okay.
All right, just before Joseph comes in, I still have Dr. Rashid Draman with me. Doc, your view on this point, that the Speaker, after presiding on over what happened in Parliament, an independent body of government, he's been cited for contempt. What do you make of this?
Honestly, I'm beginning to get very worried in terms of the relationship between the court and Parliament. The Parliament can also get involved in the work of the Supreme Court. But I have seen over the years, Parliament has stayed away from that. But you see more and more, I think I can count about 4 or 5 times in recent years. I mean, in recent months. The most recent before this one, where the court has ordered Parliament to expunge Jachikwesin's name from parliamentary records and so on. Abdullahi versus the Attorney General, where the court came in and told Parliament what to do. I think if we are not careful, we'll get to a point where whenever Parliament is going to do its work, somebody will run to the court. And I think the earlier we stop this, the better it's going to be for our democracy. If somebody is not happy with a bill that is being passed by Parliament, the body that is elected, there is no group that is elected in this country apart from Parliament. And I think we have to get that right. And in a democracy, I mean, our country is called a democracy because of the 275 members that we have elected that sit to represent all of us. And if we are not careful, I think we might be eroding the powers and the work that Parliament has to do. Yesterday, we were on your program talking about, the new standing orders and the fact that now Parliament wants constitutional bodies like the Electoral Commission and others to come before it, to answer certain questions. And there was the issue raised about the independence of these institutions. And the former Deputy Attorney General made it clear, we are not interfering in their work. We are just calling them so that they can account for instance, maybe the appropriation resources that were given to them. And nothing more than that, no interference in their work because they are supposed to be independent. And I think we have to respect the independence of each institution. So for me, I think it's time the Right Honorable Speaker and the Chief Justice sat down, to discuss this seeming growing tension between the executive, between the legislature and the judiciary, so that some lines can be drawn clearly. Because otherwise, tomorrow, if somebody is not happy with the budget, they will run to the court, and then the Supreme Court will come in and tell Parliament what to do.
Okay. Grateful to you, Dr. Draman, for joining us here on The Pulse. Now, Joseph Akable is with me now. Joe, is there any evidence provided to support this view that a speaker is indeed aware of legal processes such as that?
In fact, what the plaintiff in this instance, Dr. Amanda Odoye, what she did was she actually applied to the registry of the Supreme Court because once he filed a case at the Supreme Court, it's the registry's responsibility to bring the case to the attention of the individuals or agencies that you filed the case against. And so she wrote to the registry of the Supreme Court to ask whether the Attorney General has been served with the court processes, the substantive case itself, and number two, whether they has been served with the application for injunction. Then again, they asked again whether the Speaker of Parliament has been served with the substantive case and whether he has been served with the application for injunction as well. And the responses from the registry of the court, a copy of which I have seen, indicates that these two individuals have been served with all of these processes. And so that is the evidence that they've attached. They again also add to the processes that they filed a story that was published on our own website, myjoyonline.com. The story that the speaker indicated that they were going ahead to consider this and I think the second reading of the bill, despite the legal hurdles that the two legal processes that are outstanding. So they attached that publication again to make the point that it is quite obvious that Parliament was well aware of the steps it was undertaking, despite knowing what ought to be done in terms of the legal process, causing it to halt this particular move as far as Dr. Amanda Odoi is concerned.
Okay. Is there any specific punishment she's asking the court to impose, and when will this matter be dealt with?
I mean, in terms of previous similar applications that we've seen, they tend to say that, well, you can impose a jail time or maybe a fine, perhaps. In this particular instance, they simply say that they want the Supreme Court, as the highest court of the land, to impose appropriate sanctions. And they explain that, as far as they are concerned, Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, has conducted himself in a manner that shows that he does not respect the courts of the land. He has disrespected the courts of the land and treated it with utter contempt. And so they believe that the court ought to step in and impose those sanctions. The application is to be moved on the 19th of July. And so the expectation is that the Speaker will be served with the processes and he will show up at the Supreme Court and respond to it by way of once the application is moved. We do not know whether the contempt processes specifically, whether he has been served with that.
Has there ever been a case like this in our history?
I mean, none readily comes to mind in recent times. I mean, we've seen in various instances some high public officials, we've seen ministers of state who have been cited for contempt, we've seen heads of independent state institutions. I mean, rarely comes to mind the former Auditor General Daniel de Molivo at a point was convicted of contempt of court. In terms of at the height of the level of the Speaker of Parliament, that is not an issue that I have personally encountered or come across in recent times.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Now, the National House of Chiefs at a meeting in Kumasi yesterday voiced its abhorrence to activities of LGBTQ+, describing it as evil and abominable. Ojiahoho Yao JB II is president of the House.
Declaration of LGBTQ+ as an abomination. Nananom LGBTQ+ is evil. We, the chiefs of Ghana, have been inundated by calls from our people to make an open declaration concerning the threat by LGBTQ. We, the chiefs, as the custodians of culture, the customs and traditions of our people, wish to state categorically that our traditions and customs recognize that our Creator, God, or Allah, and called variously by different religions, created man and woman to occupy the earth and procreate. There is therefore only male and female gender and no other gender. The Christians' holy book, the Bible, Muslims' Quran, and our traditions and customs affirm this fact. It is therefore an abomination and against all our cultural values as Ghanaians to allow others to import into our country anything contrary to the above values that we cherish or we have cherished over the centuries. We, the chiefs and our subjects, declare that we will not allow any group to propagate any cause, conduct, or behavior called LGBTQ+ or similar, be it man marrying man, or woman marrying woman, or in any other form in Ghana, this is an abomination. And we declare as immoral and an affront, an infringement of our cherished values. We call on the police and other relevant institutions not to allow this abomination into the shores of our beloved country. Of course, we are not calling only on the police, we are calling ourselves too.
Ojahoya Ojebi II is the president of the National House of Chiefs. You're still watching The Pulse here on the Joy News channel now.